We're only stretching. Don't get insecure, my GF said as her ex massaged oil onto her shoulders.
He.
You know that feeling when your gut screams one thing, but you desperately hope it's wrong? Imagine walking into your own home, takeout in hand, only to find your girlfriend, clad in yoga gear, getting an oil massage from her ex-boyfriend. And he has the absolute audacity to tell you, don't be insecure. What would you do? Because I ended up dropping him with one punch, taking a job halfway across the world, and watching their entire lives unravel on the internet by the end of the week. Honestly, it all started innocently enough. Or maybe not. My name's Jordan Cross, I'm 29, and I'm a reservoir engineer. My job? Basically, I turn underground rock into paychecks for people who couldn't tell a drill bit from a screwdriver. It paid me about 78 grand a year, which was more than enough to keep me comfortable and my then girlfriend, Zoe, always asking about raises. My old man, God rest his soul, used to run a bare-bones boxing gym down in Galveston. Concrete floors, peeling paint, equipment older than me. He had one rule: never throw the first punch, but when you do, son, make it count. I spent my teenage years getting my face rearranged by guys twice my size until I learned to hit back smarter. Dad would always say, precision beats power every single time.
He was right about that.
Right about a lot of things.
Cross.
You planning to marry that Gage, or can we move on? My supervisor, Howard, yelled over the machinery noise. Just making sure it doesn't explode, I shouted back. Figured that's worth 30 extra seconds. He grunted something that might have been approval and walked off. The crew laughed. I liked them. Hardworking, no drama, showed up on time. My phone buzzed in my coveralls.
Zoe.
3 texts in a row. Morning, babe. You remembered lunch with my mom today, right? Don't make me use the word priorities. Okay? I texted back. Still employed, still breathing. See you at lunch if this thing doesn't kill me first. She sent a heart emoji and a photo of her latte with perfect foam art. I pocketed the phone and went back to work. By noon, we were crammed in the office trailer, trying not to melt in the Houston heat. Howard walked in, holding a folder like it contained nuclear launch codes. Cross, you still ignoring my emails about the Stavanger position? Not ignoring, I said. Just hoping they'll disappear if I don't look directly at them. He dropped the folder on my desk. $92,000 base, full housing package, relocation covered, project lead for the North Sea operations. I need someone out there in 3 weeks. Sounds cold, I mumbled. It's Norway. Everything's cold except the paycheck. You've got things here? He asked, a knowing look on his face. Things like a girlfriend who spends her money on yoga memberships. I looked up, stunned. How do you know about that? You talk in your sleep during site inspections, he deadpanned. Also, your credit card statement was on the printer last week. He tapped the folder. Think about it. After work, I drove home through Houston traffic that smelled like burning rubber and regret. Zoe's white sedan was already in the driveway. I'd missed lunch. A rig alarm ate my whole afternoon. Her mom would definitely bring that up at Thanksgiving. Inside, the apartment smelled like lavender candles and expensive air freshener. Zoe came out of the bedroom wearing yoga pants and a sports bra, hair tied up, looking like she'd just finished a photo shoot. You survived, she said, smiling like I'd returned from combat. Barely. How was lunch with your mom? She asked where you were. I told her work comes first for you. The way she said it made it sound like an accusation. I let it slide. Howard brought up the Norway thing again. I said, testing the waters. Her face lit up, not with excitement, but panic. Please tell me you're not actually considering it. It's almost a $20,000 raise, Zoe. But I'm here. My friends are here. My family's here. You'd really leave all that for some frozen wasteland. Your friends. Your family. I noticed she didn't say us or we. Just her stuff, anchored in place. And me, expected to orbit around it. It's just an offer, I said. She relaxed immediately, that relief palpable. Good, because I have something way cooler to show you. She grabbed her phone and pulled up a video, some shirtless guy with a man bun doing an impossible yoga pose. The caption read, "Kyle Morrison, find your flow." "Recognize him?" she asked, her eyes bright. I did.
Kyle.
Her ex-boyfriend. Last I heard, he'd moved to Bali to discover his truth, or some other nonsense that meant running from responsibility. He's teaching in Houston again. Zoe beamed. Isn't that amazing? He opened a studio in Montrose. I stared at the video. The guy who cheated on you is now teaching people about inner peace. That's rich. Don't be bitter, Jordan. People change. Sure they do. Usually into worse versions of themselves. She sighed and scrolled through more photos. Lots of Kyle doing poses. Kyle smiling at the camera. Kyle looking like he'd found enlightenment in a protein shake. You should come to one of his classes, Zoe said. Might help with your stress. I handle stress fine. It's the people around me that make it worse. She laughed, kissed me on the cheek, then went back to scrolling. I noticed she'd already liked 3 of his posts with heart emojis. My stomach tightened. That night, I sat at my desk sorting through invoices while Zoe giggled at her phone. The blue glow lit up her face in the dark bedroom. I lay there, watching the ceiling fan spin, thinking about Howard's offer. $92,000. Cold air.
Distance.
Zoe turned toward me, half asleep. Don't stay up too late. You've got work tomorrow. Yeah, I said quietly.
My phone buzzed again.
Howard's email subject line, last call before we give this to someone else. I didn't open it. Not yet. I just stared at it, thumb hovering, thinking about my dad's old gym, about hitting the bag until your knuckles bled and your head cleared, about knowing when to block and when to counterpunch. Precision beats power. Maybe it was almost time to throw. Zoe's yoga habit started small. 1 Saturday class, then Saturdays and occasional Sundays. By the 3rd week, she was at Kyle's studio 4 times a week. Every time I asked how it went, she'd smile and say, "Transformative." I had no idea what that meant, but apparently, transformation required full makeup and perfume for workout class. 2 weeks in, I decided to see what the fuss was about. When I told her I'd join, her smile froze. Oh, yeah, anyone can come. It's open. She said it like I'd just invited myself to her therapy session. The studio was one of those minimalist places with exposed brick and plants everywhere. It smelled like eucalyptus and $20 candles. Kyle stood at the front in loose linen pants, looking like he'd just finished meditating on a mountaintop. "Welcome, friends," he said in that slow, deliberate voice people use when they want to sound wise. "Today, we explore the balance between strength and surrender." I grabbed a mat in the back corner. Zoe waved at Kyle like they were old friends. He smiled back, teeth so white I needed sunglasses. Class started. Everyone stretched. Kyle floated between rows, adjusting postures, occasionally touching someone's shoulder or back. When he reached Zoe, he stopped. "Beautiful form," he said softly. "I've been practicing," she whispered back. I raised an eyebrow. She didn't look my way. After an hour of forced calm, Kyle ended class with some namaste nonsense.
People clapped.
I grabbed my water bottle and headed for the door. Kyle intercepted me near the exit. "Jordan, right? Zoe mentioned you." "That's me. Glad you joined us. Balance is everything. You seemed a little stiff today." "I work on an oil rig. Stiff is the default setting." He smiled that smile again. "Maybe yoga could help with that tension." Maybe. Or maybe I just need fewer people in my personal space. His smile flickered. Zoe appeared quickly. "Jordan's just tired from work." "Long week, I'm sure," Kyle said, backing off. We left. Zoe didn't talk much on the drive home. The next Saturday, she went back. And the Saturday after. And then Wednesdays, too. Her phone started lighting up at night with studio updates and class reminders. Every notification made her smile. One Friday, she told me she'd be helping Kyle with some studio setup over the weekend. Setup? I asked. Like what? Rearranging mats, cleaning mirrors, organizing supplies. No big deal. Does he pay you for this volunteer enlightenment? God, You're exhausting. He's just a friend who needs help, right? Right, friends. Saturday came. She left early, smelling like coconut and confidence. I spent the day finishing reports and ignoring Howard's increasingly aggressive emails about Norway. By 6 o'clock, the house was quiet. I figured she'd roll in late like usual, but my evening meeting got canceled. For once, I'd be home early. I grabbed Thai food on the way back, thinking maybe we'd actually eat dinner together. When I pulled up, the apartment lights were on, but the door was cracked open. That wasn't normal. Inside, music played. Soft, atmospheric stuff that belonged in a spa commercial. Incense burned on the counter. The air smelled like sandalwood and sweat. A knot twisted in my stomach. I followed the sound to the living room. Zoe stood there in a sports bra and leggings, hair up in a messy bun. Kyle knelt behind her, hands slick with oil, rubbing her shoulders. His voice was low and smooth. Breathe deeper. Release the tension. Her eyes were closed. She hadn't seen me yet. I stood in the doorway, holding takeout. The plastic bag crinkled. Kyle looked up first. His hands froze mid-rub. Zoe's eyes snapped open. Jordan, you're home early, she said, like I'd caught her sneaking in. Door was unlocked, I said calmly. Didn't know we were running a spa. It's not what it looks like, she blurted. Kyle's hands slid off her shoulders. We were doing recovery work, partner stretching. With oil? I asked. It helps with muscle release. Completely professional, right? She glanced at Kyle. You bill hourly or by the inch? Zoe stepped forward, face flushed. Jordan, stop. You're overreacting. Kyle's my friend. He's helping me train. Train for what? The Infidelity Olympics. Her face went crimson. You always do this. You twist everything. God forbid I have one thing in my life you're not controlling. I don't control anything. I just don't love finding another man's hands on my girlfriend in my living room. She crossed her arms. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You turn everything into drama. If you can't handle me having friends who respect me, maybe you're not the man I thought you were. The sentence hung there, sharp and deliberate. Kyle shifted his weight, but didn't leave. He just stood there, awkward but defiant, like enlightenment gave him diplomatic immunity. I set the food down on the counter. Looks like dinner's canceled. Zoe threw her hands up. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not the man I need. Someone more secure wouldn't be threatened by this. I looked at her for a long moment. Maybe I'm not. The room went silent. Kyle exhaled through his nose like he'd just finished meditating. Nobody moved. And that's where it sat, right on the edge, waiting to tip. The sandalwood smell stuck to everything. Oil bottles sat on the counter like evidence at a crime scene. Kyle stood near the couch, trying to look zen while clearly calculating his exit strategy. Zoe's voice cracked through the silence. You're being paranoid. Just because I spend time with Kyle doesn't mean anything's happening. Her tone climbed with each word, defensive and sharp. If you can't handle me having male friends, especially someone who actually listens to me, maybe you should date someone less independent. I leaned against the door frame. Independent would mean paying for your own yoga membership. Her eyes flared. You don't own me, Jordan. I can have whoever I want in my life. If you don't trust me, maybe you're not secure enough for someone like me. Kyle straightened up, trying to look authoritative. Hey man, no need to talk to her like that. She's defending you, I said. You sure you want that job? He stepped closer, chest puffed out. Zoe hovered behind him like she'd already chosen sides. You need to chill, bro, Kyle said, puffing himself up even more. You're acting out of ego. Funny, you're standing in my apartment covered in oil, and I'm the one with the ego problem. His jaw clenched. You don't intimidate me. Good. Wouldn't be fair if I did. That's when he decided to prove something. He lunged, some sloppy grappling move he probably learned from a YouTube tutorial, reaching for my collar. I sidestepped, pivoted on instinct, and threw one clean punch. Years of my dad's training in a single motion. Kyle's head snapped back. His body hit the wall hard enough to knock a picture frame off. Glass shattered on the floor. Zoe gasped. Jordan, what the hell is wrong with you? Self-defense, I said flatly. He wasn't invited by me anyway. She ran to Kyle, who was groaning and holding his jaw. You're insane. You could have seriously hurt him. If I wanted to hurt him, I would have hit harder. She spun around, pointing at me. You're abusive. This is who you really are. Some violent psycho who can't handle being wrong. I stared at her. You brought another man into my apartment for an oil massage, and I'm the psycho? Kyle was helping me. Kyle tried to stand, wobbling. You're going to regret that, man. I sincerely doubt it. Zoe's voice turned venomous. You think this makes you tough? You think I need you? Kyle actually makes me feel valued, which is more than you've ever done.
Right.
Nothing says valued like aromatherapy and back rubs. God, you're such a child, she screamed. I pointed to the door. Take him and the oil. Both of you out. She blinked, shocked. You're serious? Completely. For a moment, neither moved. Then Zoe hissed, You'll regret this. Grabbed Kyle's arm and dragged him toward the door. He left an oily handprint on the wall as they left. The door slammed. Silence flooded back in. I walked to the kitchen and poured water. 2 glasses sat on the counter, one with lipstick marks on the rim. My laptop still sat open from earlier. Howard's Norway email stared at me from the inbox. Subject, final offer. Stavanger project lead. Base $92,000. Housing included. Relocation covered. Need answer by Friday. I read it twice, then scrolled down and clicked accept. Howard's reply came within 3 minutes. Knew you'd come around. Welcome aboard, Cross. I closed the laptop and started clearing the apartment. Candles, towels, incense. Everything went into trash bags. The framed beach photo of us went in last. When I finished, I sat in the empty living room and looked around. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt clean. By Monday, my phone was a battlefield. 14 missed calls, twice as many texts. Zoe cycling through every emotion like she was training for emotional gymnastics. You didn't have to hit him. You ruined everything. Can we please just talk? You're a heartless jerk. I spent the day packing her stuff methodically. Clothes folded, toiletries boxed, everything labeled. Professional, efficient, like closing a failed project. Work became my anchor again. 2 days later, Morgan stopped by my desk. She was one of our project coordinators. Sharp, observant, didn't waste words. Heard you finally took the Norway offer, she said. Yeah, figured I'd trade heat for something colder. She smiled. Smart move. You deserve better air. She hesitated, then lowered her voice. Listen, I didn't want to say anything before, but I saw Zoe with that yoga guy months ago at the wellness retreat in Austin back in March. They were holding hands between sessions. Kyle, I asked, my voice calm, but my blood ran cold.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was my place to mention it then, but figured you should know now. Appreciate it. I still have photos from the event if you need them. I might. She nodded. You're handling this better than most people would. Anger wastes energy. I learned that early. That night, I needed to burn something off. I went back to my old boxing gym. The place smelled like leather and disinfectant. Familiar. Grounding. Look who remembered where we keep the gloves. Brandon called out, tossing me a pair. Therapy's expensive. This is cheaper and more honest. You hit like you're erasing bad memories, he commented later. Working on it. I hit the heavy bag until my shoulders burned and my head cleared. First time in weeks, I felt centered. 3 nights later, everything went sideways again. Brandon and I grabbed drinks after training. As we pulled into my building's parking lot, I spotted Zoe standing near my door, phone in hand. Thought we were done with this part, Brandon muttered. Stay in the car. Not a chance, he grinned. This is entertainment. I walked up slowly. Zoe's face lit up with rehearsed innocence. Jordan?
Can we talk?
5 minutes. No drama.
Her voice was too sweet.
That specific tone that hides teeth. 5 minutes, I said. She gestured toward the hallway like she wanted privacy. The lights flickered overhead. My instincts kicked in. That's when I caught the shadows. Two shapes lurking near the corner. Both big, both wearing gym clothes. Behind them, Kyle. Really? I said quietly.
What? Zoe asked.
You brought an audience. Before she could answer, one of the guys lunged from behind the corner, an arm hooking around my neck. Bad decision. I twisted, broke the grip, drove an elbow into his ribs, heard the air leave his lungs. The second guy charged. I sidestepped and let momentum carry him into the wall. Should have stayed home, Jordan. Kyle yelled, swinging wild. I ducked, countered, landed a clean shot to his jaw. He crumpled against the floor, groaning. Brandon's laughter echoed down the hall. Man, I told you therapy was cheaper. Zoe stood frozen. Stop. You're crazy. Self-defense again. You brought the backup dancers. Brandon held up his phone, camera rolling. And I got the whole thing. Say cheese. Enlightenment Squad. The security camera above us blinked red.
Perfect.
Kyle tried standing but couldn't manage it. You're going to pay for this. Doubt it. Zoe backed away, face pale. You'll regret this. Maybe, but not tonight. They scattered. Kyle half-limped toward the stairs like a wounded guru. Brandon lowered his phone. You know, I don't even need that drink anymore.
Good.
We've got work to do. Back inside, I pulled on my laptop. The adrenaline faded, replaced by cold focus. I logged into the building portal and requested security footage. Camera 3A, timestamp 2107 to 2125. The manager clipped it and sent a watermarked file within 10 minutes. Then I texted Morgan. You still have those retreat photos? Already sent them, she replied instantly. Minutes later, a folder appeared in my inbox. Pictures, timestamps, receipts. Kyle and Zoe at the pool, his hand on her waist. Caption: Partner work. I compiled everything. Security footage, retreat photos, text threads, Kyle's public posts. Then I found Claire Morrison on social media. Kyle's wife. Her profile showed her with her dog at some park. I kept it simple. Hi Claire, I don't know you, but you should know the truth. Your husband's been involved with my ex-girlfriend Zoe. Photos and timeline attached. You can verify everything with his location tags. Not looking for drama, just closure. Jordan Cross. I attached the file.
Hit send. Close the laptop.
Brandon glanced over. That what I think it is? Evidence.
Clean.
Professional.
Devastating. He grinned.
Remind me never to cross you. You already owe me for Thai food. We both laughed, the tension finally breaking. Outside, rain started tapping against the windows. For the first time in weeks, it sounded like rhythm instead of noise. By morning, the fuse had already burned down. I woke up to 23 notifications and a text from Brandon. Dude, you broke the internet. Someone had filmed Claire storming into Kyle's yoga studio mid-class. She walked in, calm but lethal, while Kyle stood there trying to sound enlightened. You said she was a client, Kyle. Then what's this? She held up her phone, reading his texts out loud. Can't wait to feel your energy tonight. The room went dead silent. Someone's phone went up, then another. Within an hour, the video was everywhere. Caption: Namaste, cheater. By noon, the internet did what it does best. Memes flooded every platform. Kyle in yoga poses with captions like, find your center, just not with someone else's girlfriend. Downward dog. New class, betrayal flow. Tuesdays at 6. Brandon called, wheezing with laughter. Bro, someone edited his face onto a scented candle ad. You're a legend. I just provided information. The internet did the rest. Zoe made her move that afternoon. Her post went up. Jordan left me for money. Some people chase paychecks. Others value love. Guess which one he chose. The comment section destroyed her. Didn't you choose yoga oil over loyalty, girl? The only thing you lost was your self-respect. Maybe if you valued love, you wouldn't have been stretching with your ex. I scrolled through silently, sipping coffee. Technically, I left for peace and a pension, I muttered. But things got messier before they got better. There was a knock. I opened the door to find Zoe's mother, sister, and aunt standing there like a disappointed tribunal. Her mom, Patricia, started. "Jordan, dear, we need to talk. Zoe says you've been unstable, violent." "Unstable," I repeated. Her sister folded her arms. "You attacked her yoga instructor. She says you're spiraling." I nodded slowly. "Come in. Let me show you something." I pulled up Brandon's recording on my TV. The hallway ambush. Kyle's friends. The chokehold attempt. The quick counters. Then the building's security footage, matching timestamps perfectly. They watched in complete silence. When it ended, I muted the screen. "That's your future son-in-law trying to play action hero in my hallway." I was the final boss he couldn't beat. Her mom blinked. Her sister looked away. We didn't know." "Now you do," I said, opening the door. "Tell Zoe I'm fine. Just done." They left without another word. But the fallout wasn't finished. Kyle's business collapsed within days. The studio owner terminated his lease. Something about a morals clause and disturbances. Reviews turned savage. Sponsors vanished overnight. His last Instagram post, a sunset photo captioned, "Even in chaos, we breathe." Top comment, "Try breathing through divorce papers," because Claire filed that same morning. She didn't tag him. Everyone knew anyway.
My phone rang.
Kyle's name on the screen. I answered. "Jordan speaking." "Man, you've got to help me." His voice cracked, desperate. "She's destroying everything. You started this. Fix it. You broke it when you put your hands on someone else's girlfriend." I just replied to the group chat. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You gambled with trust and lost. That's called consequences." I hung up. By the weekend, the noise finally started to fade. Kyle disappeared offline. Zoe went silent. The studio shut down. I packed my last suitcase. The company had already sent flight details for Stavanger. Brandon pulled up to drive me to the airport. "So, that's it," he said. "Leaving the land of drama and essential oils. Time to trade chaos for cold air." "You sure about this?" "Completely. Norway's freezing, but at least it's honest." We drove in silence for a while before he spoke again. "For what it's worth, you handled this like a surgeon." "I just followed the data, found the leak, sealed it, moved on." He laughed. "That's one way to describe punching a yoga instructor into next week." At least my form is good. At the airport, he helped with my bags. "You coming back?" I watched planes cutting through the sky. "Not unless Texas learns loyalty."
Fair.
"Send postcards, not X's."
Deal.
I shook his hand and headed inside. As the doors closed behind me, my phone buzzed one last time. A meme of Kyle meditating captioned, "Inner peace, file not found." I smiled despite myself. Karma didn't need my help anymore. It was doing fine on its own. The airport smelled like goodbyes, mixed with jet fuel. I stood near gate 14, waiting for the final boarding call to Oslo. Suitcase beside me. Everything I owned condensed into 2 bags and a carry-on. Then I heard it. "Jordan." Her voice cut through the crowd like a knife. I turned. Zoe ran toward me, hair messy, eyes red, panic written all over her face. She stopped a few feet away, breathing hard. "You're really leaving?" Just like that. I was. She'd caught me between flights and closure. She blinked fast, trying to hold it together. "I overheard someone at a cafe talking about you. His cousin works here." I didn't even finish my coffee. I just drove straight here. Word travels fast.
Please don't go. We can fix this.
I was stupid. Okay? I said things I didn't mean. We can start fresh. Get married. Move somewhere new together. I'll change. I studied her. Mascara streaks, shaking hands, desperation bleeding through every word. Once, that would have cracked me wide open. Not anymore. "You want a redo?" I said. "I want peace. Can't have both." Her eyes filled instantly. "You don't mean that. You still love me. Love's not the issue. Respect is. You ran out of that before I ran for this gate." She grabbed my sleeve. Please, Jordan. I can't lose you. I didn't pull away immediately. I just looked at her. This person I'd built a life around, now barely recognizing herself. You already did, I said. You just noticed late. Her lip trembled. You're being cruel. No, I'm being honest. You should try it. That landed hard. She stepped back, tears streaming.
So, that's it?
You get to walk away, and I just deal with it? Exactly. That's called consequences. People were staring now. Security hovered nearby. One officer stepped closer, voice low. Everything okay here?
Fine, I said.
Just saying goodbye. He nodded and stepped back, but kept watching. Zoe's voice cracked. Then say it. Tell me it's over so I can hate you properly. I took a breath. It's over. The words hit her like a physical blow. She went completely still. You'll thank me one day, I said quietly, for being the first person who didn't let you lie to yourself. Jordan, don't. But I already had. I turned and walked toward security. Jordan, please, she called out, voice breaking. You can't just leave me like this. I didn't look back. I'd spent 3 years turning around every time. She said, please. I handed my boarding pass to the agent, cleared security, and stepped through to the other side. The crowd swallowed her cries, turning them into background noise. On the plane, I found my window seat. The city lights below looked small, harmless. Memories that finally knew their place. I powered off my phone before it could buzz again. Silence didn't mean tension anymore. It meant peace. As the engines roared and the plane lifted off, I let out a slow breath. Somewhere behind me, Zoe was probably still crying in a terminal, realizing the only person she could manipulate was gone for good. I didn't hate her, didn't even pity her. I just hoped one day she'd understand what she lost. Someone who meant every word until she made them meaningless. I leaned back and smiled faintly. For the first time in years, I wasn't running from anything. I was flying towards something better. Stavanger hit me like a reset button wrapped in snow. Air so cold it burned your lungs. Streets so quiet you could hear yourself think without hating what you heard. No yoga studios, no drama, just work. Mountains, and a kind of peace I'd forgotten existed. Mornings belonged to the harbor. Boats rocked under gray skies, gulls circled overhead, and everything smelled like salt and diesel. By 8, I was at the office overlooking the fjord, running subsea integrity for rigs up north, pressure models, risk assessments, steel, and numbers. Everything made sense here. The gym near my flat became my second home. No mirrors for selfies, no motivational quotes on the walls, just bags, weights, and people who showed up to work, not perform. The coach asked what I was training for. I said, focus. He nodded and left me alone. Norwegians didn't waste words, and I respected that. They said what they meant, then went home on time. Even their silence felt intentional. I learned fast. Take your boots off inside, don't skip lines, always bring your own coffee thermos. I could live with this kind of quiet. Morgan started texting regularly. First about work, then random observations, then late-night messages about everything and nothing. She had the kind of humor that didn't need punctuation. Smart, calm, the opposite of chaos. Brandon kept me updated from Houston. Zoe's dating a CrossFit trainer named Travis. Of course she is. He looks like Kyle with more protein and less personality. 3 months later, Travis cheated. Client named Bree. Apparently very flexible.
Poetry in motion.
Zoe posted about healing and boundaries. Comments are off. She's learning. Work climbed steadily. I caught a design flaw that had stalled a project for months, saving the company a fortune. Howard sent an email. Knew you'd make this place better. I bought a proper winter coat, stopped checking Houston weather, and learned to drink coffee strong enough to strip paint. Kyle's name resurfaced once. Brandon again. Claire's divorce finalized. Took half his savings. Kyle's banned from 3 gyms for unprofessional conduct. Everyone calls him book club now. Enlightenment doesn't pay rent, I guess. I laughed harder than I meant to. Not cruel laughter, just closure finding its sense of humor. Nights were simple. I cooked fish.
Read.
Boxed until my hands ached in the right way. The city glowed under snow like it didn't care about my past. I started sleeping through the night again. That was new. Morgan's texts turned into calls. She asked about Norway. I told her about how the sun barely rose in winter, how quiet the water got when it froze. She said it sounded lonely. I said it sounded like peace. By spring, she was sending flight searches. Tickets aren't bad. Come see what silence looks like. Tempting. Sell it better. Snow, seafood, and a guy who stopped making bad decisions. Finally, I'll pack warm. When she landed that June, the city looked brighter. She stepped out of arrivals in a wool coat and a grin that thawed whatever ice was left. I took her straight to the harbor for coffee and pastries. She said the place felt too clean to ruin. I said that was the point. Days blurred into something good. Work, hikes, shared meals. She fit the rhythm here easily. No pretending, no tests, no ghosts, just two people who didn't need to perform. But then, 3 months after Morgan arrived, my phone rang. Unknown number. Houston area code. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello, Jordan. The voice was familiar but wrong. Strained, desperate. It's Zoe. I paused. How'd you get this number? I called your old office.
Begged.
Please don't hang up. Morgan looked at me from across the kitchen, eyebrow raised. I put the phone on speaker. What do you want, Zoe? I'm in Norway. I froze. What? Stavanger. I'm here. I flew in this morning. I need to see you, please. Just one conversation, face to face. Morgan's expression hardened. I felt my jaw clench. How do you even know where I live? I don't. I'm at a cafe downtown, some place called Boerug Burst. I'll wait here.
Please, Jordan.
I came all this way. I looked at Morgan. She shook her head slowly. 1 hour, I said. That's it. Thank you, Zoe whispered. I hung up. Morgan crossed her arms. You're not seriously going. I need to close this door properly one last time. Want me to come?
No.
I've got this. The cafe sat on a cobblestone street near the harbor. Through the window, I saw Zoe sitting alone, coffee untouched, staring at her phone. She looked thinner, tired, like she'd been running for months and finally hit a wall. I walked in. She looked up, eyes red. You came, she said, standing. You flew 4,000 miles. Least I can do is show up. We sat. Silence hung between us like smoke. You look good, she said quietly. I feel good. What are you doing here, Zoe? She took a shaky breath. I made a mistake.
I know that now.
Kyle he was a disaster. Travis was worse. Everything fell apart after you left. My friends stopped calling. My family barely talks to me. I lost my job because I couldn't focus. Her voice cracked. I need you to know I'm sorry. For everything. I leaned back. I appreciate that. But you didn't fly here for closure. What do you really want? Her eyes filled. I want us back. I want to fix this. We were good together, Jordan. We can be again. I stared at her for a long moment.
No.
She blinked. What? No, we're not doing this. You don't get to blow up my life, watch it burn, then show up months later asking for matches. I changed, Jordan. I'm different now. Maybe, but I'm different too. I don't carry people who don't carry themselves. Tears streamed down her face. So, that's it? You just moved on. Like I never mattered. You mattered. Past tense. And I did move on. Met someone who doesn't need oil and excuses, to be honest. Her face twisted. You're with someone?
Yeah.
Someone who respects me enough not to need this conversation. She stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. I flew across the world for you. And I left across the world to get away from you. We're even.
People were staring now.
Zoe's voice rose. You're heartless.
You know that.
You're a cold, selfish. I'm done, I said calmly, standing. You came for closure. Here it is. We're finished. We're finished the moment you chose oil massages over honesty.
Fly home, Zoe.
Build a life without me in it. She grabbed my arm. Please don't do this. I have nothing left. I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. That's not my problem anymore. I pulled free and walked toward the door. Jordan, she screamed. You'll regret this. You'll come back begging one day. I stopped at the door, turned back one last time. No, I said quietly. I really won't. I walked out into the cold. The air bit through my jacket, sharp and clean. Morgan was waiting across the street, leaning against a lamppost. She straightened when she saw me. Done, she asked. Completely. We walked back through the snow-covered streets in silence. Above us, the first hints of northern lights began to flicker, green and violet threads weaving through the dark. Morgan slid her hand into mine. You okay? Yeah, I said. Better than I've been in a long time. Back at the apartment, we made tea and sat by the window, watching the lights dance across the sky. Morgan leaned against my shoulder, warm and steady. Outside, the city hummed quietly. Somewhere out there, Zoe was probably booking a flight home, finally realizing I wasn't coming back. I thought about Houston, about the hallway fight, the viral meltdown, the airport scene, about how revenge wasn't something I planned. It just followed logic. Cause, effect, lesson learned. I wasn't angry anymore. Wasn't even proud. Just done. Morgan stirred beside me. What are you thinking about? That some people spend their whole lives chasing heat. I'm good with the cold. She smiled. Cold's underrated. Exactly. We sat there as the auroras faded and the snow kept falling. Steady, quiet, honest. I'd left Texas for peace and found it 4,000 miles away in the last place I expected. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Guess that's why Norway felt like home. 2 years later, I'm still in Stavanger. Morgan and I got married last spring. Small ceremony, just us in the fjord. She runs logistics for the same company. We bought a cabin up north. Brandon sends updates sometimes. Kyle's selling insurance in Tulsa now. Zoe got engaged to a dental hygienist named Craig. I didn't feel anything when I heard. That's how I knew I'd actually moved on. I make $112,000 now, lead a team of 6, and haven't thought about Houston in months. When I do, it feels like watching someone else's life through a window. Distant. Handled.
Done.
Morgan's making coffee. Snow's falling outside. In an hour, we'll disappear into the woods for the day. No yoga, no oil, no baggage. My old man used to say, the best revenge is living well while your enemies live with themselves. Turns out he was right about that, too. So, I've shared my whole story, the good, the bad, and the utterly ridiculous. I'm curious, what would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with someone you cared about? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.